Iran has officially announced that the revenge against Israel is on its way, and a senior advisor in the Iranian parliament published an image depicting a nuclear strike on Israel. In addition, Iranian officials are also threatening Europe, saying that drones may attack a European city soon. In the Gaza Strip, the IDF and the Shin Bet continue the targeted assassinations of dozens of senior Hamas figures just in the past week. However, Hamas is not out of the game just yet. They still have cards to play, including their endless conflict with the Gaza Humanitarian Foundation over the distribution of humanitarian aid in the Gaza Strip. This week, they've been offering bounties on the heads of humanitarian workers. In the northern arena, there's good news and bad news. Syrian interim president Abu Muhammad al-Julani is cooking up a huge deal to upgrade the new Syria, while Hezbollah chief Naim Qassem seems to have gone mad. Hezbollah has launched a bizarre campaign and will try to figure out what is behind it. Welcome to Boots on the Ground. I'm your host, Yair Pinto, reporting about all the truth with everything that is happening in Israel. Sadly, not everyone is interested in the truth. A senior Iranian official declared over the weekend that Israel tried to assassinate the president of Iran and it will pay the price. And according to this official, extensive investigations are underway in Iran amid suspicion that Mossad spies enabled the precise strike in which the president was wounded. We'll have some more details about this. And meanwhile, in the Gaza Strip, the IDF is intensifying strikes as Hamas warns of espionage and the black market is flourishing. And amid ceasefire talks, the Air Force is striking dozens of targets in the Gaza Strip, while Hamas locates concealed devices and warns operatives against using phones. So, what is the Israeli Air Force hitting in Gaza Strip? The focus of these strikes is terrorists in units working to rebuild the military capabilities of the Hamas and the Islamic Jihad terrorist organizations. On Sunday evening, it published a list of arch-murderers eliminated in the past 2 weeks, focusing on the north and the south of the Gaza Strip. And in related news, the IDF has continued to destroy Hamas capabilities and equipment both above and below the ground all over the Gaza Strip. And amidst all of this kinetic activity in Israel, people wonder what further pressure can be applied to Hamas to make the organization retreat from its stubborn positions. Israel still holds thousands of terrorists, controls supply centers, and has the threat over Hamas leaders even outside of Israel around the world. And yet, Hamas is sticking to its maximalist demands. Background criticism targets Qatar, the mediator, for spreading lies against the Israel via Al Jazeera and other channels. While all of this is going on in the Gaza Strip, events in Lebanon are also moving forward, but at a very uneven pace. The internationally recognized government in Beirut, the capital of Lebanon, is dragging its feet in regards to disarming Hezbollah, despite pressure from the Trump administration, fearing this will spark a civil war. And senior security officials warn that Israel's patience has limits and that ultimately it will have to act more forcefully to dismantle Hezbollah's weapons. And speaking of Hezbollah's weapons, the IDF is choking Hezbollah's oxygen tube from Syria. The smuggling session between Syria and Lebanon is beginning, but this time it faces a main obstacle, which is the IDF's firm hold on Mount Hermon. From this strategic base, the IDF deploys ambushes, observation posts, and patrols on the Syrian slope of Hermon and on the smuggling routes to thwart the operations. But Hezbollah is not going down without a fight. In parallel with talks about disarmament, Hezbollah has in recent days launched a new propaganda campaign under the slogan, "We will not give up the weapons," while Iran has expressed sharp dissatisfaction with any attempt to disarm Hezbollah. I can only imagine how they must feel about their own disarmament at the hands of Mossad and the Israeli Air Force in the recent conflict in Iran. Now, getting back to Syria, after the lifting of the United States sanctions, Syria has signed an $800 million agreement with DP World to develop the port of Tartus, constituting Syria's first step on the road to economic rehabilitation. Last, but certainly not least, Israel is on its way towards a new generation of interception missiles, as the CEO of Israel Aerospace Industries revealed that Arrow 4 is expected to become operational very soon. So guys, we have a lot to talk about today, so let's dive into the details. I'm Yair Pinto, and this is your Boots on the Ground report about what is happening in Israel on day 647 of the war against Hamas, Hezbollah, the Houthis in Yemen, the Shia militias in Iraq, and all the other armed groups in this region acting under the orders of Iran's Revolutionary Guards, which is the head of the crumbling axis of evil in the Middle East. And a moment before we begin, I want to call on you to continue spreading the truth and help us share what's happening in Israel. We need your help because the enemies are trying to spread lies. And how do you fight lies? You share the truth. And then you'll know how to pray for the peace of Jerusalem. So guys, hit that subscribe button so you never miss another episode of Boots on the Ground. And before we get to the reports about Iran's threats and its attempts to regain the lost honor it forfeited in the 12-day war against Israel, I will begin first with the news from the Gaza Strip. While discussion about the ceasefire negotiations are on its way, everyday war life in Gaza continues and is intensifying. The Air Force is striking dozens of targets. Hamas is locating concealed espionage devices and warning its members against wiretapping and other assassinations attempts. The atmosphere in Gaza is described as pulsing with a growing sense of danger. Ongoing evacuations from areas where the IDF operates, while a black market functions under the radar. The IDF Southern Command forces continue their operational activities against the terrorist organizations throughout the Gaza Strip under the guidance of military intelligence and the Shin Bet. And in the past 24 hours, the 99th Division and the 162nd Division operating in the Bet Hanun area in the north of the Gaza Strip eliminated terrorists and destroyed terror infrastructures, weapons, and underground routes. The forces also located and destroyed a missile launcher that was intended for terror activities. And at the same time, forces of the 98th Division operating in the same area located and destroyed operational apartments, eliminated terrorists, and destroyed additional terror infrastructures. In Khan Yunis, in Gaza also in the southern part, forces of the 36th Division continue to operate. In addition, Gaza Division forces operated in the south of the Gaza Strip and destroyed dozens of terror infrastructures and struck many terrorists from the air, guided by the division's fire complex. The Air Force took extensive part in the activity and during the past 24 hours attacked more than 150 targets throughout the Gaza Strip. Amongst the targets that were struck, with support from the ground forces, terrorists, booby-trap buildings, weapons depots, anti-tank and sniper launch positions, and areas where explosives were planted. But this is the day-to-day activity that we've been reporting to you for months. In recent days, something new has come up. In a joint announcement by the IDF spokesperson's unit and the Shin Bet spokesperson, they stated that during the past 2 weeks, the IDF, led by the Southern Command and the Shin Bet, attacked and eliminated a series of commanders in various units of the military wing of Hamas and Palestinian Islamic Jihad. The units were working to rebuild the organization's military capabilities, including the weapons production headquarters and the military intelligence array, but they won't be doing that any longer. And in a related story, humanitarian aid continues to enter Gaza, although the security establishment admits there is no enforcement and no way to prevent the aid from reaching Hamas. On Sunday morning, 58 trucks entered the Gaza Strip on behalf of the Jordanian charity in cooperation with the Jordanian Army and the United Nations World Food Program. The coordinator of government activities in the Palestinian territories confirmed at the end of the week on the unit's X account in English that under the instructions of the political echelon, 150,000 liters of fuel were transferred this week through Kerem Shalom crossing in Israel to the Gaza Strip under the heading Essential Humanitarian Assistance. The fuel entered despite the absence of a ceasefire, when in practice it is the lifeline of the Strip, the resources that drives everything. And I'm talking about hospitals, bakeries, transportation, communication, and not infrequently also Hamas mechanisms as well. What can you do? Here at TBN Israel, we will continue to report about every development on this subject. So guys, keep spreading the truth, share, follow us, and most importantly, do not forget to pray for the peace of Jerusalem. Now, before we move on, I want to tell you about something that I wish was being talked about more in mainstream media around the world, and that is the tremendous struggles that Israelis are facing on the home front in Israel every day. Even while this war continues, thousands of hard-working men and women across Israel who put everything on hold to show up for the IDF reserve duties and volunteered for all kinds of other projects in Israel are doing everything that they can to get back on their feet. So business owners, artisans, farmers, shopkeepers, many of them paused everything to serve and defend the country of Israel, to evacuate from their homes or just to survive. Now they're trying to rebuild what was lost. So that's where Artza comes in. Artza partners directly with small businesses in Israel, buying their handmade products and sharing them with people around the world through their subscription boxes. Every box that you get brings real income to people working hard to start over in Israel, reopen a workshop, restock a shelf, or simply pay the bills. So if you want to support the recovery and get an Artza box filled with amazing stuff from the land of Israel, please go to www.artzabox.com/TBNIL. And don't forget to use the code TBNIL for an extra 10% off your subscription. Again, that's www.artzabox.com/TBNIL. It's a simple way to help Israel and to be part of the Holy Land in return. Now, before we move on, I want to thank you for standing with us, and I have some more details for you about the ongoing threats for Iran. But first, we have another short report from the Gaza Strip. The Hamas terrorist organization is distributing messages in Gaza saying it is offering bounties for the heads of the American and Palestinian aid workers of the Gaza Humanitarian Foundation, or GHF. The foundation, which operates under IDF authorization and is financially supported by the United States, runs 4 supply distribution centers in the Gaza Strip, and its activity disrupts Hamas's control over the population, and Hamas doesn't like that. So their threatening messages are joined by the Israeli and the Egyptian intelligence warnings. Hamas is diverting parts of its forces to the mission of attacking those centers and the civilians who come to them, as it seems that this is a real threat to the terrorist organization. Last week, 2 American aid workers were wounded after a fragmentation grenade was thrown at them near one of the supply centers. So 2 weeks earlier, more than 10 Palestinian aid workers were wounded in a Hamas attack on a bus taking them to one of the centers. Another 10 were injured, and Hamas prevented them from being treated at a hospital in Khan Yunis. In a statement, GHF sharply criticized media outlets around the world that published Hamas propaganda lies without oversight, lies meant to harm the operation. The statement said, "For weeks, we warned that this would happen. We asked the aid community to condemn the threats. They remained silent. We asked the media to stop whitewashing Hamas's lies. They kept publishing. Today, Hamas continued and attacked United States veterans with grenades while they were delivering food." The silence is deafening. At what point is allowing Hamas to terrorize aid workers and run a propaganda campaign through Western media no longer acceptable? And guys, in a related story, the IDF confirmed that in a small number of incidents, there was IDF fire intended to push back Palestinians who had entered areas close to IDF forces, and in some cases, hits were identified, but the number is much smaller than the claimed